This day and age, there are many different franchises that people collect for. You can collect action figures, statues, prints. But I always find myself going back to Transformers. Even though I collect about 15 different vintage lines and a handful of modern representations of those vintage lines, Transformers keeps pulling me back. Specifically, it's the Masterpiece and third-party Transformers that reel me in the most often. Even with all that Hasbro's got going on and all the great figures they're putting out, there's just something special about the Masterpiece Transformers. Today I want to talk to you about why I love collecting Masterpiece Transformers in 2021. We're going to have this discussion. I'm going to talk about this coming up. So the first reason I like collecting Masterpiece Transformers the most out of all of the other franchises and all the different scales and all the offerings is the size. See, the thing is that when I was a kid of the 80s, I was super into 3 3/4 inch figures. But when it comes to Transformers, Transformers should tower over them. And back then, Transformers didn't tower over 3 3/4 inch. In fact, a lot of them were the same size. The mini-bots, some of them were shorter than my Star Wars figures, and it really didn't make sense in my head. But nowadays, you can have them intermingle and it can work if you have a Masterpiece scale. So even if I don't display them on the same shelf, it makes sense to me in my mind that these figures have size, they have presence, and they have a larger than life aspect when you're looking at them, because hey, I view Transformers as huge. The next reason is because Masterpiece Transformers look like they walked off the screen. In a lot of cases with the third-party Transformers, these figures, they have concealed every single little panel. Every single little area has been closed off so that when they're in both modes, they look absolutely perfect. Now, it's a bit of a chore sometimes to get them back and forth, but they do look really good. With many of the recent Takara options, they look like they walked right off the screen. Almost too toon accurate. It is ridiculously scary where we're going with technology and where we're going with the transformations and the paint apps and making them look super perfect. It's amazing, it's exciting, and I look forward to each one of the releases. My next reason why I like collecting Masterpiece Transformers so much is that the paint and the finish and the presentation and the high-end quality of these figures for the price. Now, you look at, they're about $100 for the low end, and at the higher end up to $220 for the ones that are getting released. And then if Takara, well, they could go crazy with their pricing. But for the price, what you're getting is a very high-end collectible that looks amazing, especially with all of the paint apps. I really am a sucker for these figures that look so good. And I have to admit that 10 years ago, I didn't think that this level of accuracy, this level of paint and detail was actually possible. But here we are today, and they're pushing the limits every day. Who knows what's coming in the future? Of course, that's part of what generates the excitement in our collecting community. What's coming next? The next reason why I really like collecting these things is they feel like they're very well made, for the most part. Now, there's some that aren't. Now, I'll admit, some aren't. But for the most part, I like to pick up a figure that I spent over $100 on and feel like it's worth over $100. I have to admit that I'm one of those people that do somewhat associate the weight with the value. And the die-cast means a lot to me. It's a Transformer. It's a metal figure. The more metal in it, the more it feels real. If it has metal and die-cast in it, it feels real. And I do have to admit, I am kind of disappointed in Takara moving away from die-cast, and that's one of the things Fans Toys and X-Transbots does well, is still keeping some level of die-cast metal and some weight behind their figures, and I do like that. So whenever I pick a figure up and I feel that weight, I feel like it's really worth it. And I don't pick my figures up a lot, but knowing how it feels when I pick it up is a big deal to me. Moving around these combiners that are in the Masterpiece scale, even though they're not loaded with die-cast, they are still pretty heavy. And you guys start to feel the heft behind a combiner, which is 5 Masterpiece figures together. Even the lightest weight Zeta still has some heft behind it. And yes, they put some die cast in the feet in a couple places to make it stronger. You can feel the weight behind that figure. And when I was moving all these around for reviews, just makes me appreciate the weight, the aesthetic, and everything about these figures every time I move these around for review comparisons. This kind of slides me into my next point, and what really excites me about Masterpiece Transformers is in itself third party. 2021 is going to deliver a ton of great figures this year. I've already made my first half of the year video. I'm going to make a second half probably in July, and I'm excited about so many things that are coming out right now. Right now we're in this Minosaur war. We're going to be finishing up hopefully by the end of the year or early 2020, but there's so many other great figures to look forward to. I don't know of any other franchise that has so many other companies fighting for the same space that aren't even licensed companies fighting for the same space. Even Star Wars doesn't have this many companies trying to make product for it. And the reason is because nobody else is delivering, so everyone else is stepping up. We're talking about these third-party companies making amazing figures. Sometimes it feels like they step on each other's feet just to get it done. But still, it's fun and exciting. There's a whole lot going on with the community, and what's happening with third party makes this the most exciting franchise out of all of them. I don't know of any other franchise that has so much competition and so many high-end excellent figures to choose from that just keep coming all the time. When it comes to Transformers, there's always something coming up. There's always something going on. There's always something to look forward to. The wait for some of these items is really annoying. But again, it creates the excitement. And when you do get it, it's exciting to get your hands on these new marvels of engineering. Sometimes it's frustrating how the game is played. The game is played where there's a giant mystery. How does this combiner combine? How's it all going to work? And then when you get it, it's kind of fun to learn solve the mystery. But this all leads into my number one reason why I absolutely love Masterpiece Transformers. It reminds me of a simpler age, a simpler time. And it reminds me in a way that nothing else can. I think Transformers was one of those franchises when I was a kid. And it helped me look to the future with wonder, amazement, amusement, excitement, looking at the possibilities of what is to come. And when I watched this show when I was a kid, I looked everywhere to watch every episode I could, as often as I could. If it was the same one over and over, I didn't even care, because it was just one of those things that made me think about possibilities of the future. You know, the people that make these Masterpiece Transformers, the creators, the designers, these people were inspired by this franchise to go and do greater things and to advance engineering to the level that we can have these figures. It has made an impact, not only on me, but an entire generation. And although the loser in this battle is GoBots, I really wish we could get Masterpiece representations of GoBots. Like the Action Toys Machine Robo DX series of Psykill, that thing is on point. That is exactly what I want out of a Masterpiece line for GoBots. I'd like to collect them alongside with Masterpiece Transformers. I think that there is room for it. I wish they would go full on and dive in. That figure is amazing. They could make so many more amazing figures. I wish they'd stick with it. But again, the Transformers wins and overshadows this, but they'd sell really well if they would really put more resources towards it. So what do you think about all of this? Why do you collect Masterpiece Transformers? Why do you not collect Masterpiece Transformers? And do you understand the amusement, the amazement, and the interest in collecting these lines? Like and subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.